I didn't succeed at college. All the things that they were teeing up in high school and making it seem that if you didn't go to college, you were relegated to have to be in a trade. And essentially, we're going to look down on you, down our noses, because, yeah, you couldn't hack college. And in the Northeast, that was something that actually did play out. So a lot of doctors' offices, lawyers' offices that I had to be in, and just felt like you were looked down upon. And it might have been my age, I was a young kid. But my father said, look, you can't see it that way. You have to look at it like you're coming in to save them from a problem that they can't fix. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing. And I never forgot that.
From the business capital of the world, the Big Apple, New York, Middle Tennessee, it says here. Sounds riveting.
Yep.
This is the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast.
It is.
A podcast about Middle Tennessee business owners and professionals. Mostly.
Yeah. Speaking of the Big Apple, we just got back from a trip there for this recording, and even saw my old friend Matt Wilson of the Mostly Marketing Podcast with Matt Wilson. He made the drive down to come see us in New York City, and we had a nice little catch-up evening. It's been about 5 years since I saw him last, and always a good time to see that guy. But thank him, and I always will thank him for being the big voice of this very podcast, the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast, which we derived from the previous name, which is What's Your Problem? But it's basically the same thing. We talk to Middle Tennessee business owners, professionals, and entrepreneurs around Middle Tennessee, mostly. We'll talk about their challenges, their stories, things that they've overcome, and hopefully, other fun stuff as well that may come up. We do chase and go after tangents and rabbit holes on this podcast, so it is a free-flowing conversation. That's the way we like it. This is a video and audio podcast. Check us out at MMTBP.com for all your followings and sharings and ratings and reviewings. That would be wonderful. Trying to get 10,000 average downloads per episode this year, which would be fantastic. You can help us out there. I am your host, Jim McCarthy, with JimMcCarthyVoiceovers.com and It'sYourShow.co, where you can get a podcast just like this one. That's what we do. We make it very easy for you. Today, I've got a gentleman here. He was nice enough to come on out. He's in a trade, and I'm always intrigued by talking to tradespeople, especially business owners who are in the trade space, because there's a lot of opportunity here in Middle Tennessee for tradesmen, tradeswomen, tradespeople. And the trades are filled with people who start out as technicians, and then they run their own business, and I think what we call owning their own job, and they own a job. And we're going to be talking to Mr. Justin Sharp. Sir, welcome here. Welcome to the show, and let me just get my mouth going, which happens.
Thank you, Jim.
You are with the AC Crew. Mm-hmm. Your guy, Achille, is in our BNI chapter. You are also a part of BNI. Which chapter are you with?
Part of the Frontliners chapter in Cool Springs.
So you meet on Wednesday mornings over there at Sperry's.
Correct.
Right on. Say hello to Mr. Tim Wilhoit for me.
Oh.
Yeah, hopefully he'll go, who?
He is one of the cigar smoking buddies with me.
Oh, really?
Thursday nights at Franklin Cigar.
Oh, very cool. Franklin Cigar.
Yeah.
I was actually a part of that chapter once upon a time.
Were you?
With him, yes.
At Sperry's?
And Shane Almgren. Yeah.
There's some names.
Was he not part of the chapter anymore?
Shane?
Yeah. No?
He's very much a part of the chapter.
I have no idea. I haven't heard from the guy in years. But this is what I mean by tangents and rabbit holes. They just kind of pop up out of nowhere.
Yes.
We go down them. But if you're listening to this podcast, you're in the trades, what you can expect is Justin's wealth of knowledge. He's kind of not slow stepping into what he does, but he's doing it strategically and smartly. You're not trying to bum rush into the space. You've been doing it for a while. You were a technician. You've been on the road. You've had a bag of tools and a tool belt on you at many different occasions, I would imagine, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So you've done it for, tell me, start from the beginning. How did you get into the trades? Were you part of like white collar America at one point?
I would say so. Yeah. I guess my background's not as a technician, more of a sales management background.
Okay.
I started in the HVAC world, needed a job. And because of a sales background, I ended up selling HVAC equipment for a number of years. I've been in, I guess, this industry for 10 years. Opportunity came up to start my own business, and I kind of backed my way into being a technician.
Right.
Because I understood new equipment, but I had to learn old equipment. If you want to work on equipment, I mean, you're working on the old stuff. So I still approach it from, I do know how to work on things, but I have technicians that work for me, and kind of working my way backwards into a business.
Reverse engineering it.
Everything I've done is reverse engineering. I mean, I started in a B&I group or in this Frontliners B&I group as an employee for another company. After about a year, needed to make a change, and I wanted to stay in the group.
Right.
A lot of fun, a lot of relationships, I saw the money involved. And so my answer to that was to take a weekend off and start a HVAC business.
Right.
Not the way to to jump into a business. I mean, you should have a little more preparation and planning ahead of time, but that was my story.
Was it just you doing the work at first?
It started out as just me doing the work.
Yeah.
And had to learn. I've leaned on other HVAC technicians and owners. So I have great relationships with other companies because they taught me the technician side.
Right.
I worked with them on the sales side. So it was a great relationship, but I do have great relationships with other HVAC owners. They've grown their businesses on the sales side and operations side, because they started out as technicians owning their own job and didn't know how to expand beyond themselves. And I started from the opposite side, and I had to go back and learn. I had to go learn the technician side. So they taught me that, and I taught them sales and operations.
Oh, it's very nice of them. Because
it's mutually beneficial.
Yeah, you'd think that, at least they have the right mindset that a rising tide lifts all ships, Because if they can't do a job, hopefully they can refer it to you, and vice versa when you get busy.
We very much have that relationship. So even when I do company events, a lot of times I'll bring those guys in to my company events because we're all in it together.
Nice. That's a great attitude. Yep. Because you don't find that all too often, especially in the trades.
No.
And it's not like a knock against Nashville trades, but tradespeople by nature are a certain breed. Mm-hmm. And, I'm going to say thanks to the popularity of college education in the past 40, 50 years, and parents driving their children, almost like we'd rather you be a white collar person and not have to do the blue collar work. Oh, God forbid. I remember that being the narrative to me in high school, but I ended up going into the electrical trade for a season. And I'm glad I did. At the time, I felt like I needed to do something else because there was something in me that just needed to get it out of my system, and that was radio. But all the stuff I learned in the electrical trade has served me immensely ever since I've done it. So it's crazy.
It's still a relationship people business. I mean, you're helping people and solving problems, et cetera. So I think, if you look at electrical, or in my world, HVAC, as a commodity we can plug that commodity into whatever we're doing. Yeah. But it's a business. It's we're helping people accomplish what they need at that point in time.
Right. It's like, as we say here at J Squared, being that we are low voltage mainly, a lot of lighting work. You see a lot of full color light shows, especially at the car washes, things of that nature. That's us. Mm-hmm. But our mantra is be the hero. Mm-hmm. And that's something that my father taught me when I worked with him. He was in the telecommunications industry. We hung many a PBX telephone system on a wall and cut down 25 pair of cable on 66 blocks. I mean, there was once upon a time I knew the entirety of the color code, and I could sit there and just sit in a phone closet and just punch down 66 blocks while listening to the radio. It was actually very cathartic. But it's one of those things that I always, because I didn't succeed at college. all the things that they were teeing up in high school and making it seem that if you didn't go to college, you were relegated to have to be in a trade. And essentially, we're going to look down on you, down our noses, because, yeah, you couldn't hack college. And in the Northeast, that was something that actually did play out. So a lot of doctors' offices, lawyers' offices that I had to be in, and just felt like you were looked down upon. And it might have been my age, I was a young kid. But my father said, look, you can't see it that way. You have to look at it like you're coming in to save them from a problem that they can't fix. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing. And I never forgot that.
Hey, Middle Tennessee electricians, handy women and men, and just those of you needing better commercial LED lighting solutions. Yeah, I know, there's so many of you. I have to tell you, there's another option than just the big orange and blue box stores now. Try j2lighting.com. At j2lighting.com, we have the latest technology in all types of commercial LED lighting, from UFO high base, drawers, area lights, and shoeboxes, right on down to a slimline wall pack that doesn't look like a fist coming off the wall like most other wall packs do. You get what I'm saying, right? Many of our fixtures are wattage and color temperature selectable, which means you have more control over the brightness and appearance in your dark spaces. Check us out at j2lighting.com for a great local source for your commercial LED lighting ideas, even full color light show dreams. Yeah, totally. That's the letter J and number 2 lighting.com. j2lighting.com.
So I've got a friend who I hired directly. He was young. He was probably still a teenager at the time, and hired him as a helper in the HVAC world. He had his parents were both college educated and were expecting him to do the same. They sent him off to school. He dropped out of school, and I don't believe he told his parents.
Right.
So, and ended up enrolling in HVAC, an HVAC course. And once his parents found out, they were upset. His father was pretty irritated on that.
What did they have, what did they imagine for him? Do you know? What did they want him to do?
I'm trying to think, and I do know what he was going to school for. I'm trying to think what it was. I mean, it was, I don't remember at this point, but it was a white collar job. And so his comment to his father was that, all his friends would, when they graduated in 4 years, they'd be, saddled with student loan debt, tens of thousands of dollars, if not more. And he, in 4 years, would be making a 6-figure income. And his dad was like, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
And he loves what he does. And so to me that plays an important part of it. And he has gone on, he's, become successful in what he does. He's made it. And, he did bring home a check to his dad, and he says, see here, Dad. And they've come around. They're proud of what, he's done. And, he's happy with what his, life choice is.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's, does he have any other siblings that have maybe decided to reconsider? I tell my kids all the time, like, go at least learn how to weld. You'll always work if you know how to weld.
That's what I tell my kids too. I'm like, go find something that I tell them, go find a trade. Even you may not use it all the time, but at some point in time when you adult a little bit further down the road, you will need it.
You'd enjoy going to Home Depot in the electrical aisle, man.
You will use it.
It's actually kind of a fun aisle. Mm-hmm. I actually missed it after I got out of the electrical field that I was in. I would go to Home Depot to do something, and I'm like, I remember looking at, 4 square boxes and, conduit and all that fun stuff and connectors. And I don't know, it was just always something, a part of me that it was fun to know what I was looking at, I guess.
In our trades world, there's nothing you can't find at Home Depot. There's always another tool that you need. Mm-hmm. There's always another tool. So, Home Depot, Lowe's, it's a constant budget item.
We are actually, as a company, are a part of a career day over here at the high school. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that we want to impart to the students is, even though your parents might be harping college, your guidance counselors, though, you got to figure out who you are. College can do that for you, but it comes at a price and a cost of, my daughter is looking at college right now, with many, many times I've told her that if you need to go into debt over it north of $40,000, reconsider, because those student loans are monsters. It's literally like a grift of grifts that, you want to talk about predatory lending. You can't get out from underneath these things.
Right.
You have to pay them off. And it's just, I know people that are my age that are still paying off their student loans. That's just unacceptable.
Right.
Come on. No, it's like, I'm not for forgiving them either. You made the decision to do this, and for those of us, or, the people that are out there that have actually paid it off, that's unfair to them. Okay. What about, people who didn't want to go to college? And I'm going down another rabbit hole. But I mean, it's one of those things that, guys, it doesn't cost much right now, as we're recording this in this era, this season, to go to a trade school. It doesn't cost that much. Now if all of a sudden everybody decides to go, you're going to be talking about a different cost, similar to what happened with college. But the rewards are there. You get your hands. It's doing what we're meant to be doing, I guess, as God put us on the planet to use our hands. And at the end of the day, you could see what you've done. Back when I was 20 years old, no, I didn't appreciate that. But now that I'm older and wiser, well, quote, wiser, I can see that, because I've been a part of many, many projects that you go in, you spend 7-8 days doing, and you walk away going, no, that was cool. We can come back to this place and see it and say, oh, we did that. That was kind of cool. And I guess if you do it often enough, that probably does wear off, but it never did for me.
I don't think if you truly appreciate people or want to be involved in that relationship business, anytime you help people, it can be, it's impactful, and you walk away, and whether it's electrical and you help somebody figure it out, or you help somebody not burn their house down because they wired it wrong or something of that nature. Same thing with us, and providing heat or AC in the summer or whatever.
You guys especially, you are like, you might as well just buy ambulances for those who run out of heat or AC when they need it.
It's it's a good gimmick. It's a reactive business, right? I mean, it's something that's I've spent many time running out of the house going, so and so they need help.
Get me comfortable again now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I've always had an idea for an AC company. I don't know if I should tell you. I'll tell you anyway. I have the URL already.
Where's the NDA?
Beach chair heating and air.
Oh.
Where it's always sunny and 75. Maybe it's not such a good idea. I don't know. Not bad. It evokes imagery. Because,
evokes the story, I could tell. But
it's comfort. You're selling comfort from, the point where you call us. It's going to be a comfortable conversation. The way we price things is going to be comfortable for you, as comfortable as we can make it. You're going to feel comfortable when we're in your house doing the work. And by the time we're done, you're going to be back to the level of comfort you want.
It reminds me of when I got started in HVAC, my wife said, "Oh, you have a really bougie job. I mean, it's comfortable. You're air conditioned all the time, and you're heat all the time." I'm like, no, if I go to a house, it's cold and they need heat, or it's 99 degrees and they need AC.
Typically, I'm working in an attic.
I'm in the worst of both worlds.
Yeah.
If I'm there, I'm in the worst of both worlds. And I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's not a bougie job at all. There's nothing white glove about it. It's you're in crawl spaces. You got to put duct work in, repair duct work. You're either outside. I had our heat pump replaced several years ago, and a buddy of mine did it. And I did not envy him. The dude he brought his own fan to blow up into the attic stairs, just to keep himself cool.
We do a lot of those.
And his gimmick is that he wears Hawaiian shirts. That's his thing. And it's a good gimmick. But he's probably got 4 or 5 Hawaiian shirts on hangers in his truck.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because every single one of them gets soaked.
That's what, we look at a day, and it's either a 4-shirt day, a 5-shirt day. That tells us how what kind of day it was. And
Yeah.
it's not because it's dirty, it's because it's wet, soaking wet.
Well, what I can appreciate about you guys is that you've got Achille, who is in our chapter, and he's an amazing kid, young man, I'll say. He's just a great guy. He's done some work here for us. He's done work for John, my partner, as you know. And he basically, you've also had Ian that was in that position, but he was taking some time away from, I guess, his first love and passion being out on the road doing sound for bands. But he was good at it too. He was just a good dude. And in this business, in the trades, when we did it with a previous company doing electrical work, it took us about 15 to 20 people to find the one. Is that about the same ratio for you? Because you seem to have a knack to find good people.
No. Thankfully, I've been very blessed to just have guys find me.
Right.
Now, I'll tell you about Achille. Actually, every one of them is, each of my employees have been recommended to me.
Oh, really?
Achille was
Wasn't he like a detailer or something? Or
No.
was into motorcycles?
Oh, he's still in motorcycles.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to have him start talking. He loves them. But no, I had a guy that was in my B&I group that was a recruiter and called me one day and told me, he says, you need to hang up with me and answer the phone. This guy needs to, you need to talk to him. Mm-hmm. I'm at a trade school. And he's graduating HVAC, with the HVAC certificate, and you need to talk to him. And my background lends to, I've heard the stories over the years of not hiring guys out of trade schools because they're green and they need to relearn a lot of things and they need experience in the field. And so I was very hesitant. I'm like, Jamie, I really don't want to talk to him. It's just being nice. And he goes, no, you need to talk to this guy. I said, okay. So I did and chatted with him for a little bit. And I said, well, let's meet up. I just see where this conversation goes a little bit. And so we did. And I said, so you've been going to trade school. You just graduated. What have you been doing in the meantime? How do you support yourself? I guess he was living on his own. How do you support yourself? Well, I work third shift. And I said, okay, you go to school Monday through Friday. I think it was 7 to 3. Mm-hmm. I said, so you work third shift? He goes, yeah, I go in at 7 p.m. and I get off at 2 or 3 a.m. 7 to 3 and 7 to 3, and there's not a lot of time on there.
Split sleep schedule.
I said, what do you do? He said, because there are some jobs that are a little more relaxed than others.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you do? He goes, I drive a forklift at a factory. And I was like, overnight and then go to school during the day? I said, how does that work for you? How long have you been doing that? He goes, a year.
Wow.
So it wasn't a short period of time. I said, how's that working for you? He goes, I'm kind of tired. Okay.
bad.
Here's the deal. For a young guy coming, he was young, or he's still young, but for a guy with that kind of work ethic, I'll take that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can work with a lot of other things, and he came with a great personality to boot, but I'll take a work ethic because, a lot of time in our world, the calls that come in are not at the ideal hours.
Right.
There's an emergency. There's, adverse weather circumstances. There's a lot of things that we're in a reactive business.
Yeah.
And so to take a guy like that, he's been absolutely incredible. I've got other guys in the same boat that I've just been blessed to. They've found me. And like, hey, this guy needs, a job, or are you looking? Of course I'm looking. I'm always looking. We're in a business that's never, I don't think there are too many companies that are completely full. We've always got work to do. And
you're not really like chomping at the bit to be huge at the moment. Like what is your aspiration for the company in the next 5-10 years?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I really don't. Because granted, I started it on a whim.
Yeah.
And I enjoy business. I mean, people are like, I get the question all the time, are you going to sell the business? I don't know. I'm having fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy kind of pouring into the guys' lives and finding out what they want to do.
Right.
And, I've got some guys that they have aspirations to build their own HVAC business. I know that. They've told me. I asked those questions. And so my goal is to help them achieve their goals.
Because you're not going to stop them. You might as well at least keep those relationships.
I don't want to stop them. I want them to chase their passion and goals and dreams.
That's big of you, man.
I've been given that opportunity as well. And so that every day is a new adventure. We have fun. And I find when I ask those questions that we're a team.
Yeah.
And we choose to, that door has been open to where I can ask a lot of other questions and help them succeed in what they want to do. It's a different culture today. Young people, that whether they forego college or whether they choose that and then choose to get into trades, et cetera. The days of when we work 24/7, people don't want to do that anymore. People don't.
I still feel like I'm doing it.
I do, and I feel like I am too, to a point. But it's because I love it. It's because I choose that.
Right. It doesn't feel like work.
There's a lot of, I know in the trades world that it's been one of those things where people expect that. And I've done that before. I mean, I've broken down before just going, I can't deal with this anymore. I can't, I've got a family. I've got other things I want to choose to do. And I'm on call 24/7. And I just, I've spent many a Christmas Day or a New Year's Day driving a company vehicle to a family get together because I was on call. And, it was just one of those things. It was never, my kids just always knew dad's on call.
Yeah.
And so I don't want that out of my employees. I mean, to the point that we don't do on call. When they go home at the end of the day, they're
off.
They're off. And, weekends, we try to really make stress that they can choose to chase their hobbies, their goals, their dreams. If they want to go run the motorcycle on the weekend, go for it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Do something, because the longevity in this business, I want them to enjoy being an HVAC technician, and not, life is stressful enough not to make more of it.
Well, there's a lot of guys in the business. It's almost similar to the car business, where they'll come into an organization and there's a cycle of brokenness that happens from the management on down. They're kind of hazed. There's a little bit of, character building, if you will. That happened all the time in the car business, because the salespeople typically it would be, if you knew it was a dealership that had a revolving door, and there were the big dealerships here that would have 30, 40, 50 salespeople. They call it flooding the floor. And what they're relying on is, we don't have to pay it all that much. We just need a warm body to take all the customers we're getting, and hey, if you get a sale, great, we'll pay you $100 because we're going to discount the car. It wasn't a good culture builder kind of thing. And of course, when the salesperson would come up to the desk to get some help, get the numbers, so to speak, it's like they're being browbeaten. They're being browbeaten by their managers. They're being browbeaten by the customers. So it's a no-win situation for the poor salesperson. There's no culture building. There is culture building, but it's not healthy. You get that a lot still in the trades, because a lot of these guys, when they work their way up the chain, or the ladder, so to speak, they don't break the cycle. Well, hey, now I get to do what was done to me onto some other poor, unsuspecting soul, instead of thinking to himself, well, why don't I be the one that breaks the cycle?
Sure.
I don't know if that was your experience getting into HVAC and, being a technician at one point. But obviously I commend you for breaking that cycle. Building that healthy culture is huge. It's massive.
I think part of what drives me is I come from outside of the HVAC world.
Right.
And so, I approach things a lot of times as a homeowner rather than an HVAC person. And so when there's things that other companies do because they've always done the same way and they were taught before, I don't look at it like that. I literally question. I was trained as a sales guy. And even to this day, I would rather not sell new equipment.
Right.
And my guys know that, and I've taught them, let's figure out how to fix equipment And there's a point in time where mechanical, there's that balance point where it makes more sense to change over to new equipment. But there's a lot of companies out there that would just rather sell new equipment.
Yeah.
And even though I'm a sales guy that has sold new equipment for years, I look at it like, but is that what's needed?
Yeah.
And, to the point that, that they hear me talk about it all the time. And the phrase that this sales guy can sell ice to an Eskimo.
Yeah.
I'm like, I really dislike that phrase and commented on many times with different sales guys. I dislike the phrase because does the Eskimo need ice?
Right.
The Eskimo doesn't need ice, needs a fur coat or whatever you want, a blanket or something. That's what they need.
That's not a salesperson. That's a schemer.
That is.
Yeah.
Sell them something that be a partner in what they're doing or what they need. And that builds long-term relationships.
Because ultimately they're going to remember you for selling them something they didn't need.
I want to be a partner with their needs.
Yeah.
And I do think that, I think part of it, a lot of the culture, what we do is B&I related.
Yeah.
We, in Givers Gain and just the relationship long-term building. I do have my technicians in B&I groups. I think that it's important for them to, it develops people skills.
Yeah.
They take ownership of, their clientele.
Because they're the ones getting the referrals, and they're doing the FaceTiming.
They're doing the FaceTiming. Yeah. It really takes almost me out of it because they think Achille. I've had plenty of times where they think Achille owns the business, and when I call that I'm his employee, and I'm like, no, sometimes I correct them, and sometimes I don't correct them. It doesn't matter to me, but it's nice knowing that we build things long term or build those relationships long term versus transactional.
Right. Well, I mean, the relational approach these days, there are so many people out in social media, gurus, personal brand, people that are trying to be influencers, social media thought leaders, things of that nature in the business space. And so many of them are what I call bropreneurs, entrepreneur bros, like fraternity style sales tactics that appeal to a certain demographic, a certain age group, promising, wild success and money in a short amount of time, that kind of thing. And it's, the guys that are teaching this, they ought to know better. It's like, guys, this is a legacy. The stuff that you're putting out there and the stuff that you're saying, do you really believe it? And do you understand that your descendants are going to see this stuff? That was my grandfather. That was my great grandfather. That guy's kind of a jerk,
Well, when somebody, a sales guy walks into a house and he closes a sale and leaves and the deal's done and the homeowner still got a twitch because they don't have a clue what happened.
Yeah.
I like sleeping at night. I like knowing that at the end of the day, we did a good deed.
You did the right thing, not the easy thing.
The right thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a long approach and sometimes that's not, sometimes we make money on it. Sometimes we don't. At the end of the day, we did the right thing.
Right.
And teach, the technicians that there's plenty of times that we have to go back and go, let's have this conversation and make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Right.
Conversation happened this morning. Did we make money on this? No. Could we have made more? Sure. But did we do the right thing? And now that sets a foundation. They understand the culture to the point they don't ask that many questions anymore. They know what my answer is. We did the right thing.
Right.
Or we try to do the right thing all the time.
You got to love the fact that even getting back to people thinking that Achille is the owner.
Yeah.
It means that there's an element of ownership mindset that he has, that he feels belonging. He feels part of the tribe. That's something that is tough to instill, but if you're able to do it and it's effortless, why not? Because that's a part of culture building, feeling like they're an integral part of the team and their success, your success, the team's success is just a good thing all around. That's a good attitude to have. Like what you addressed earlier, the right attitude. He had a good work ethic. Attitude is everything above aptitude constantly. But do you teach them like sales tactics inside? I mean, at some point, yes, you have to upsell and at least say, hey, do you want fries with that? Is that something you guys do? And be like, hey, do you want me to look at other things while I'm here? That kind of thing you let the customer voice it first?
It's something that I enjoy sales.
Yeah.
The psychology of sales is really fun. Not that we're trying to get one over on somebody or that approach of it, but really really asking the right questions.
Yeah.
Really getting down to what somebody needs and what they want and what they're trying to achieve. And, you walk into a house and you ask them, are you planning on staying here for 20 years? If you don't ask if somebody's moving, because in this day and time, people change houses a lot.
Yeah.
They may be looking to move next year. Well, what their return on investment over 1 year versus the a 20-year approach to a house, those are totally different. It's night and day, different systems, if you will. Yeah. And so we have to ask the right questions, and that's a big thing when they're in a house. We ask those questions. We ask, part of it is being curious, asking questions. How is it comfortable? If houses aren't comfortable, what did we achieve?
Yeah.
That's the goal of air conditioning. If somebody's not comfortable in their house, there's 75, and you said 75, and my immediate response was, is that the perfect temperature? I wanted to be a smart aleck about that. But
that's
anyway,
fine.
Because everybody's got a different answer to
I'm
that
going by the song, the country song, Sunny and 75.
Coming out of sales, and I wanted to do, I guess I wanted to do the sales, but each of the guys have come to me, and said, hey, I'd really like to expand and do some, learn sales.
Yeah.
And so we're working through that, and they're working at different, they're at different paces of that process. So I'm teaching that. It's so fun.
Yeah. We empower all our people here that one of our core values is everybody's a salesperson. And if you bring a deal to the table, you work the deal, you get our help closing or whatever, they will get a commission on it.
Sure.
So, everybody's empowered to do that. Mm-hmm. That's what we believe. Because that's something that if you're out there, even on the weekend, and you have an opportunity to, in our space, look up and see what kind of lights they have, or maybe you can make a suggestion and, hey, have you thought about, taking that and putting some color on it or something like that? We could certainly help you. Would you like, one of us to reach out? And you just never know, just asking the question. And that's what we kind of, at least plant the seed to get them to start thinking.
Sure.
But I would imagine that your principles and your philosophy coming from B&I, because B&I is like what I call the epitome of a concept that I guess I came up with called be them centric. Mm-hmm. It's what Gary Vaynerchuk calls 5149. It's more about them than it is about you, and I just wish there was a lot more of that in the world. I try to be that way, emphasis on try. But it's the more you are about them, that's the giver's gain mentality. The more you are about them, the more you're looking out for other people, it should reciprocate just by virtue, even in, social media offerings, posts, things of that nature. It isn't about you, man. It's about what are you offering the people, your audience. Mm-hmm. In radio, that's what it was about. Teaching a client who bought an advertising schedule. And no, it's not. I'm sorry to tell you, it's not about your business. We could put a laundry list of things on the air for you in your commercial, but you got to put yourself in the listener's shoes. Would you listen to that and absorb any of it? Wizard of Ads, Roy Williams, one of the training platforms I was a part of for many, many years. Mm-hmm. They call it winning the heart before the mind has to decide. Mm. Make sure they know of you and feel the best about you when it comes time for them to need you. It's tough. It's tough to articulate, but you better embody that in your business, and especially in your space, I'm going to dare say it's easy because you're up against, dare I say, a lot of boneheads out there. And I had not that Tanner's a bonehead. I'm not saying that at all, but Tanner was on the podcast about 6 months ago. from TNC Plumbing, back when we were known as What's Your Problem. I said, the thing about Nashville is that it's easy to get the work. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's the execution of the work that's the problem, because either you're going to do it yourself or you got to find somebody who's good customer facing. That's the biggie. Who's competent, who's able to get the job done on time and understand the business of it, that you don't want to spend several days on a job and all of a sudden you go upside down on it and all that stuff. It's got to be efficient. It's got to be, profitable. Profit is what makes the world go round. That's what keeps your business sustained. But man, what a balance in the trades, because you got a lot of guys out there just doing it horribly. And a lot of, how many people on Facebook posts you say, well, I reached out to so-and-so and I need somebody to come out and I can't get a call back. How many times have you heard that?
We hear it all the day,
right?
All the time.
And it's like, guys, if you're in a trade space, this is not going to be a peacetime economy for always.
No.
It turns wartime occasionally.
And it's changing, even now over the next year. It's going to be a really interesting time because of efficiency standards are changing, equipment's changing, Freon's changing. I mean, there's a lot of things. And there are a lot of guys that are getting out of the business because they don't want to change.
Right.
But a lot of guys, to your point of kind of boneheaded solopreneurs like you're talking about, a lot of guys get into the business because they are technicians, they work for a company, and they go out on their own because they understand the technical side of it, but they also see the money aspect of it. They're like, oh, I can keep all the money for myself,
right,
and don't understand overhead, don't understand all the expenses that go into operating a business, and get overwhelmed. I mean, one of the things we talk about is, when you like join a BNI group is, when we go to interview trades guys, we tell them, go ahead and find your help. Go ahead and find more help, because we're fixing to overload you. If you do good work, then you need help. You'll be out of business before you know it if you're not careful, because you can't keep up.
Right.
And that's Nashville's one of those. There's a lot of trades guys in this area. A lot of need in this area. There's a bigger need for good tradespeople.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we see a lot of people that are just in it for the short haul,
If you're in a trade and you understand, you're listening to these episodes, we've even got another one. Actually, at this point of this recording, it should have already come out. It's with an electrician that came out from East Tennessee to be on the show. And we talked about this as well. In the trades, to your point with B&I, you're not wrong, man. We just had a guy apply to be the electric chair in the group. And after he came here, I showed him our lights and stuff like that. He sat down, we talked. He's like, do I have to be there every week? I said, yeah, that's a requirement. That's you're paying for the membership. Mm-hmm. Think of it like a billboard. Mm-hmm. Okay. If you even get someone to sub for you, it's like having a quarter of a billboard, because they're not going to do the same kind of job you're going to do. If you're not there, your billboard's down. Nobody's talking about you. Nobody knows what you need. And I said, the trades are an easy referral. Everybody in that chapter can find you work. Everybody knows somebody who needs an electrician, a plumber, an HVAC guy at any given moment in their neighborhood, somebody they know on their local Facebook pages. I told him, I'll be able to find you work at least probably 2 or 3 times a week, just by looking at Facebook. And I have my own methodology that I use to garner referrals. So those of you who are listening, B&I, you got to turn in a referral. You got to be at the meeting. You got to do a 1-to-1, which is meeting with somebody, one of the other members every week, and a CEU, at least a CEU a week. And then you're required to have a visitor per month. They call it the power of one. And the reason being is because that's how the group is accountable. That's how the group works. It's one of those things that that's what makes your investment pay off. Now, you're going to get some people that have not offshoot businesses, but you kind of have to wrap your head around what they're asking for. But man, the simpler the ask, the better you're going to do. That is the big secret to B&I. Always it will be, always has been. And it's because human nature, we want easy. We all know we have to pass a referral. That's why I get up every week and I ask people to follow the podcast, listen, share it out, give a rate, review, all that stuff. Even though I'm the podcast guy, I think I have a pretty easy ask for podcasts. Anybody, you listen to a podcast, you listen to the intro. Does it need help? If you have a personal connection with the host, introduce me. That would be great. Of course, somebody, everybody podcasts are hot right now. You should be able to throw a rock and find somebody who might be thinking about starting a podcast. I said, but the other thing, and I don't know if you've been to one of our meetings where I get up and do my commercial. I say, I am the easiest referral you will ever have. If you're struggling to find referrals to give, share the podcast up. Listen to an episode, share it on whatever social media is your thing. Just share it out. Give me a rate, give me a review, write a little blurb, and turn it in as a referral. I'm golden. I make it as easy as possible. Trades are the same way, in my opinion.
Well, I'm not going to be not going to be at my B&I group tomorrow. I've got a sub. Hey, I'm going to be at your chapter. Yeah. But I've got a sub who's one of my clients. He's a realtor. I do a lot of work for him, and he understands the quality of work that we do. Yeah. So not only do I have a sub, but I have a testimonial of somebody who's going, this guy has done lots of work for us over the years, and here's the testimonial of what kind of work can they do.
Right.
So I think there's a whether it's B&I, whether it's a networking group, whether it's to me, I love the power of the relationship building aspect of it. I mean, we started 5 years ago. Started the HVAC business 5 years ago. It's still the only marketing I do.
Right.
My bookkeeper's like, your marketing budget is 1%.
Yeah, you should be like 10 or 15.
Yes, I know. He told me that too, but it's literally one, and that's my dues, and that's my that's our social gathering budget.
But that's good, But you're patient.
Patient. It's providing what we need.
Right.
It's providing me the opportunity to work with the guys, and at the end of the day, are you building a business to build it as big, bad, and burly as you want? Or are you building a business to have fun and provide for your family?
Right.
Depends on what your purpose is.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I don't have the biggest business in the world. We're still small potatoes, but we're having fun,
right,
and providing for our families.
What's some of the challenges that you've had over the past 5 years? We never talked about that. Anything come to mind? Because you run your business in such an integrous way that I'm hearing that, when you're doing it and you're on the up and up, you're doing things honestly, you should be able to, it should be relatively smooth sailing. It's only when you start misleading the customer or making promises and commitments to people that you can't live up to, that kind of thing, that's where you get in trouble, right?
I think that the challenges are the same with probably any small business owner, because I started out with me, myself, and I. All three of us were not on the same page.
Right.
And then you build in, you add employees, and I have found that I'm working, the transition from working in the business to working on the business is one that I still want to go back and work in the business.
Right.
It's also realizing that I am the chokehold in the business, so that, the decision-making process, I want to empower my guys to make decisions in the field, but a lot of it still comes back to me, and which is, that's the growing pains of a business. Any business. Take HVAC out of it and just put any business you want into it. Small business is one of those growing things, or one of those challenges where we, there's a lot of podcasts, there's a lot of books, there's a lot of seminars to go to. There's a lot of input that we can get that creates clutter in the mental space, and all of a sudden you can have so much, call it knowledge constipation.
Yeah.
To where you're like, oh, I know all this stuff. how do I make it work? And I think that's, as far as the challenges, is just going, how do I make all this information, all this experience that I've had over the years? It's not the first business I've had, but I've had how do I take all this experience and knowledge and make it work for what I'm trying to accomplish?
Right.
Do I try to, we talked about HVAC, with other companies and what they've done, what they've always done. Am I trying to reinvent the wheel, or am I just trying to make do it better?
Well, I guess the fundamentals and the systems, procedures are easily adaptable into that kind of a business. You're kind of standing on the shoulders of giants who have been down the road.
Sure.
In our business, what we do, not like it's specialized, but it's not, but we're still having to figure out the systems and processes, and we have a young staff, and getting them, a lot of them in their first job, and getting them to understand the notion and the virtue, the value of systems and processes. Right now, it's just kind of nebulous. There's a lot of we just need to get it done. Let's pull from here to, not that we're, robbing Peter to pay Paul or anything like that. Thankfully, we're not there, but it's more just in the resources and allocation of labor, which is something that we're just figuring it out. We're only 2 or 3 years into this particular business. We've done pretty decent since the beginning. Even in the podcasting space, doing what I'm doing, figuring out all the procedures. And I have the experience in radio that knows how to do this, but it's teaching that to the other people and coming up with those things.
Well, you're the guy with the ideas, and then you're teaching people that may or may not have those ideas or experiences.
Right.
And so there can be that frustration. But, that's what drives us.
Yeah.
That's what excites us. I mean, if somebody's not excited about it, that just may not be their talent or desire or something of that nature. But I kind of geek out over the figure it out mentality.
You like being in the mix of it every day.
Unfortunately. Yeah. Sometimes unfortunately, sometimes fortunately. I mean, I do feel like it's still fun.
Yeah.
To figure it out.
Well, you're also still in love with having a tool belt on, getting in the mix, doing that kind of thing.
Yes, to a point.
I've always had an issue with coaches who said, well, you need to find a way to work on your business and not in it. And I'm going, well, that's a great quotable quote. But the reality is a lot of business owners have to do both for probably a good 10, 15 years. That's just the reality. It's not like flipping a light switch. And if you think it is, you've never run a business, or you at least were, with a business or part of a business that's already been established. Getting the flywheel going is a massive challenge.
Well, why did you start the business?
Right.
I mean, do you have, what's the purpose? What's the plan? I'm still because I don't have the guys on call for the weekend. I'm still a weekend on call guy.
Right.
And it's not because we don't have a lot of on call, or we don't have a lot of weekend calls, but if they're there, if people, if their unit's not working or something's of the problem, I will go, and I enjoy that aspect of it because it keeps me fresh. It keeps me in the field. It keeps, there's this going on or that going on, and it's still people. There's
a value to also knowing that you're asking your employees to do something that you know how to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big part of that culture too, and to know that you've been in their shoes.
Well, there's sometimes I'm just like, hey, you know what? I'm older than all y'all, but I can still do it.
Right. Yeah. I've had that experience.
I still got it.
And now let me ask you this. I mean, how old of a person are you, if you don't mind me asking? You could round off.
Oh, I turned 50 Really? I turned 50 on Sunday.
Dude, I would have put you in late 30s, so good for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm serious. I'm not joking.
All right.
I mean, that's roll with it. I embrace it. I was going to say that you never know, and this by being of our age, that your life will shift.
Sure.
At some point you're going to be like, I'm kind of over being the on-call guy. We got to make a shift here, and you're going to have complete license and the favor of your team to say, yeah, we get it, completely get it. So we're going to figure out a way that we'll do a rotation that, hey, we've got 6 guys at this point. We're every month and a half, you're going to be on call, something like that.
We've already had those conversations
Right.
just a little bit. And sometimes they hear, hey, they'll come in on Monday and realize Justin, ran 4 or 5 calls on the weekend, and now we've got to get parts, and now we've got to do this, and et cetera.
Now we got to go back and fix
now we got to go fix everything that Justin screwed up. But no, I was able to diagnose it, and now we've got to go repair it, or et cetera.
You were able to put a bandage on it.
Yes, yes.
Right.
And so they see that, and they realize that, Justin's still doing it, but then they've had the conversations of, you could have just called me. I'd have come out and ran it.
Right.
And I appreciate their willingness, but I've also got the experience where I've been on the other side of it going, I can't breathe because I'm on call 24/7 and I just don't have a life.
Right.
And my family's suffering. And so I temper those experiences with their ambition.
Well, it's nice that you can do that where they can be on call every 4 or 5 weeks.
Sure.
You know what
absolutely.
I mean? Because you got enough of a team to be able to have that kind of a rotation.
Well, and we've got guys in different areas of town. So, I mean, if I'm in South Nashville or there's a call in North Nashville, there's times I will shoot them a quick text going, hey, you want it or not?
Yeah.
If they don't want it or they're doing something else, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I did give them the opportunity on occasion.
Very cool. One of the other things that was a challenge for most tradespeople, and it wasn't brought to my attention up until recently. I partner, actually, they're going to be a guest at our meeting tomorrow. They do phone systems, and a lot of phone systems these days are virtual, what they call soft phone apps and everything. And if you guys aren't hearing it off camera, for some reason in this house, we get like every spring, or we're kind of easing into spring, the weather's warming up, birds like to attack our windows. I don't know why. I was on a call in a podcast earlier today that was virtual, and this guy over here has been flying into my window and singing his heart out, and it was all going into the mic and everything. So, yeah, nothing but professionalism here.
I hear him hit the window.
Yeah, you hear it, right?
Shiny.
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
But now I lost my train of thought.
You said rabbit holes.
Yeah, that was rabbit holes. You got to love them. What we forgot to do was the dad joke challenge in the beginning. I almost kind of did that intentionally. I want to shift it around and see if I put it towards the end that maybe it shifts things up a little bit. Mr. Ed Fox. We'll go ahead and do that now. Maybe I'll remember what I was going to say. Dad Joke Challenge brought to you by Ed Fox and Trade Bank. You and I are both very familiar with Ed Fox. He's part of BNI. He is the purveyor, I guess you could say, of Trade Bank here in Nashville. And he's done a wonderful job. He's if you're a business like a service business, trade business, you've got products on the shelves that are kind of growing mold on them, things might be a little slow, engage in trade. Sometimes barter is smarter, as Ed Fox would say. And the reason being is because for the amount of costs your costs of hard costs on the products is what it essentially costs you to get other people's goods. So if you want a phone system, if you want a coffee, if you want printing or something like that helps feed your business, Trade Bank might be a good thing to look into, and I certainly recommend it. All the details are in the description. And off we go. The Dad Joke Challenge is 5 jokes. Ed does write them, and he does voice them. I do keep a tally as to who laughs and who does not. So, Justin.
Are you going to ask me to laugh?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to, it's funny because I'm writing our names out. We'll both start with J. Usually just do the initial. So if you laugh, I get a point. If I laugh, you get a point.
Okay.
Right? Make sense? Let's start off with the first one. Here we go.
G'day, what type of exercise do lazy people do? Diddly squats.
Diddly squats. You're almost breaking. I'm looking at you. It's almost there. Good. Okay. You can groan too. You can make comments. It doesn't have to be a laugh. But you're going to remember that one. You're going to tell your kids that when you get home. Number 2.
My cousin, who's a medical examiner, said she's really excited for the next autopsy club. It's open mic night.
Because they're going to open up a person named Mike. It's funnier when I have to explain it. Oh, there we go. You laughed. One. Oh my gosh. I'm laughing at you laughing.
Did you hear about the cheese factory that exploded in France? Yeah, there's nothing left but debris.
There we go, number 2. Actually,
See, the problem is I'm old enough to appreciate a good dad joke.
Dude, you gotta love them. I mean, in this world, if we can find laughter, let's just go with it. So, number 4.
Have you heard of the band 923 Megabytes? Probably not. They haven't had a gig yet.
Because megabytes going into a gig. That's right. I'll score myself on that one. I kind of laughed.
A friend of mine got into photographing salmon in different clothing. He said he liked shooting fish in apparel.
Fish in apparel. Like fish in a barrel. We've used that phrase earlier in this conversation.
So like open mic night.
Open mic, that was pretty funny. That's pretty good. So anyway, there you go. There's the dad joke challenge. What do you
Ed's
think?
a great guy.
He really is a great guy.
Yep.
And he's one of those guys that if you find him on Facebook or Instagram, he does have an Instagram channel that is dad joke based, and you can't miss him. He's a big Australian guy, as you can tell. He always wears really loud shirts, typically with a Trade Bank logo on them. And he's on LinkedIn. He's on Facebook. He's local here to Nashville, and he will be more than happy to have a coffee with you.
You just have to be careful out in public with Ed.
He has a tag.
Personality and a half.
Oh, he's a big personality, man. Yeah, I always told him that he missed his calling as a pitchman.
Oh,
like Billy Mays. He could still do it.
Yep.
There's no reason why he can't. Yeah, check him out. All the details are in the description. And like I said, he's a good guy to meet. Mm-hmm. If you want to reach out to him, say hello, tell him I sent you. And there we go. Dad joke challenge. Got that done. And I can't remember what I was going to say before. So maybe we'll just end it. How do people find and follow you? accrew.com?
TheACCrew.com.
TheACCrew.com.
And
it's a good name.
And I doubt, it took a lot of thought and preparation.
No, but it's simple. It says exactly what you do, and that's okay.
Well, I approach it as, everybody has a business and we've got employees. Everybody plays a part. Yeah. We all, as a good friend of mine, in the music industry, is like, we all, should know our role and do our job.
I've heard know your role and shut your hole. I didn't last that long. I left after that. That was one of my radio station jobs.
That's a cultural issue.
Oh, totally. Yeah. The guy who hired me ended up moving to Dallas, and the guy who replaced him, the first thing that he said in the meeting is that you guys are all here to make me look good.
Oh,
no. Really?
Okay. I think that's a part of the crew is, guess what? My role is, and it changes, and it's evolving, but my role is just part of the crew. Yeah. If I don't do my role, then the guys can't do their role. And if the guys don't do their role well, then we bounce off each other, you know? And so I think, there's not necessarily a hierarchy per se, but we're in it together.
Yeah.
And, so that's the crew.
Nice. Very cool. Well, of course, please follow us, rate, review, share the podcast at MMTBP.com. And we'd love to hear from you. You can also apply to be a guest on the show. There's a link there on the website, which is just it's kind of a link tree at this point, where you can reach out and introduce yourself. Tell us why you would want to be on the podcast. It's not an infomercial. It is truly for the listener to get some value out. It is a very free-flowing conversation, as you've just been witness to. And of course, our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal is 10,000 average downloads per episode. If you can help us out there, we're a bit of a ways off, but we got to have big goals, right? Let us know. MMTBP.com. Pick your favorite episode, give us a share, rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Justin, thanks for coming on. Really
appreciate you.
Good conversation, man.
Fun.